someone put a gun to your head and said you had to close a deal within 30 days, what would your strategy be?
Oh boy.
Oh man.
I'd probably go with the because it's the fastest way to get a deal.
The thing closest to a silver bullet would probably be,
If I had a week and a gun to my head, I'd get a deal in 7 days.
I confronted real estate millionaires doing collectively over $20 million per year in revenue, and they told me 16 strategies for how they would get their first deal starting with no money. We'll start with investors doing a few $100,000 a year, all the way up to investors doing multiple millions a year and one worth over $10 million.
You and I've done some projects together, and I befriend every single realtor I can on Facebook. Sometimes I'll reach out to the ones that have sent me leads before, and I'll get random calls from realtors saying, hey, I got this property, it's getting ready to go on the market, we can't sell it through a traditional way, it has to be a cash thing, are you interested? And I go look at it, and I've gotten a ton of leads that way.
I'd probably do a text message campaign. I'd probably pull a big list, probably absentee owners, vacant properties, lists like that, skip trace it, and just send a bunch of text messages to my market area and work the seller leads that way.
I would go the pre-foreclosure route. Notice of foreclosure, be a notice of trustee sale, notice of sheriff sale. I would download every single one of those. I would check with the attorney, make sure that the case is still active, and then I would go knock on their door. Then I would go by again a week later. I go at least 30 days to 2 weeks out. Then I go again a week out. Then I go 3 days out, 2 days out, 1 day out. I would not stop trying to talk to that homeowner about their foreclosure until they gave me the F-off treatment.
Our biggest assignment deal, which was $111,000, was a property that was 3 doors up from me. So every day I drive by, no one's in the driveway, no one lived there. So I would take a yellow piece of paper. My name is Mike. I live 3 houses down. I'm going to buy this property. Please call me. And I would duct tape it to the door. So finally, I talked to the neighbor. I'm like, hey, Mr. Ron, I live down here. What's up with Miss Betty's house, right? I'm trying to get hold of her, trying to buy it. He's like, oh, here's her phone number. Sweet. Calling her, texting her, no response. She finally responds back and says, oh, I don't want to sell the house. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, when's a good time to talk? Well, I can't talk. I'm deaf. Okay. So her grass was getting high, and it never got high. Hey, Miss Betty, it's Mike. I was just checking to see if I can help you out with anything. I see your grass is getting a little high. Can I cut it for you? I'm out doing mine today. Immediate response. Mike, that would be great. The person that was doing it for me isn't going to do it for me. And by the way, I'm ready to sell the house now. Bam. Easiest deal.
So what I would do is I would literally spend 8 hours a day, let's just assume I have prop stream at least, and this is the exact filters I've been doing, is on market equity percentage, 10% or less. So it's 20% or less, on market listed 30 days or more. And then I would just look through all of those addresses. I would look through all of those and just call every single realtor there. Pitch sub 2. Most of them won't be interested. I feel like if I genuinely sat down and just did this for a month straight, I think I would buy a house. Sub 2, very little entry.
It's just baffling to me that people think that they can go from working at Starbucks, and then they go on YouTube and they get into this business and they think they're not going to have to invest any money. You're going to have to invest something.
How much do you think someone should start out with? I know it depends on the state, but what do you think?
$5,000.
And what would that be for?
This is what I would do. 200 bandit signs would cost me, call it $1,000. $1,000 will get me 200 bandit signs. I will put out 30 to 50 bandit signs every week without fail. I would set up my phone. I would get my phone. The phone number would cost $40, unlimited. The answering service is $120. The mailbox, because I wouldn't want any mail coming to me directly, the mailbox would be $300. I would buy a mailing list, but I would focus on filtering that list properly. I would get a really, really solid list, whether it be absentee owners or foreclosures. So I would probably get 2,000 names. And then I would mail out 200 to 300 letters every week.
I'd say get a job because you need to have money coming in. At McDonald's, they're hiring, so you can have a little money. I guess the thing closest to a silver bullet would probably be just scouring the market online. A lot of times you just go through other wholesalers and other brokers. Some of my best deals have been that way, and the fastest, more easier deals. So if you have a good buyers list, you might be able to team up with a wholesaler who doesn't have a great buyers list and find and co-wholesale a deal.
It's not doing what everyone else is doing. Cold calling doesn't work everywhere in the nation. Always have your next decision on deck. Don't be like, damn, we put it all in the cold calling, man, and I'm lost now. No, dude, you should have your next pivot. I had a guy come over earlier. He was telling me that he's literally looking up landowners and then manually texting them one by one. Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
And then he's like, Nick, I closed the deal after my first 35 text messages. And I was like, holy shit, this is working.
I got money. I'm just turning on PPC across the nation and then get the deal closed and then go sell it. But if I had no money and it was pure effort, I'd go pull the foreclosure, pre-foreclosure list from the county if it was available. And then same with probate and pre-probate, get that information. And then I'd go door knock those. That's the best bet. So people will say, I want to skip trace or I want to mail. Those are all delayed moments. But if I had 30 days, if I had a week and a gun to my head, I'd get a deal in 7 days.
So part 1 is find the properties. Part 2 is research the properties. And then part 3 is I would call and text those owners every single day. I'd spend 2 hours driving, I'd spend 2 hours researching, and I'd spend 2 hours calling and texting. If you spent that much time on that, you would get a deal. For sure.
I would make a zillion offers to everybody. So you can go on like Google and you can Google we buy houses or cash for net houses on Google, and then you'll have everyone's landing page and everyone's site who's a wholesaler, right? You go to all of them, call them all, and get on their list. So now you're getting emails from everyone from all their properties. So you make as many offers as you possibly can on all those houses, and you'd be surprised. It's daunting, but one's going to stick. Especially in 30 days. You should be able to find one in 30 days, at least one.
The guns in my head, I'd probably take $10,000, find a really good PPC guy, and go all in. Because it's the fastest way to get a deal. You can pay to put yourself at the top of Google. They tend to be pretty motivated. Then if you had no money, then I would do the opposite. And I would be scouting around looking for not abandoned properties, right? Because they might be underwater, but I'd be looking for properties that are occupied that just look like absolute dog shit. When you probably have to do about 2,000 properties to do that. But break that down, you know what I mean? If you do 100 properties a day, within 20 days, you can get through that and you can find your first property.
I would probably pull the county list. That's the first thing I did. I'm going to call those tax delinquents. I'm going to call, if I had access to PropStream, I'm just going to get highly motivated lists. I'm going to narrow it down, like 2 mortgages, equity, old houses, and like long ownership. Because I'm looking for people who can negotiate. And I'll call them. I would call from 9 a.m. to like 7, maybe 8 p.m. No shit. Like just dial. And then I would tell them to pray. Because I don't know if you're going to get it in 30 days, man. That's tight.
I would get out in the field and start handing out business cards. Nobody that has a property that they need to sell is going to know to call you if they don't know you. You need to be shouting from the rooftops that you're an investor looking to buy houses if you want to buy houses.
We've done everything with TV. I've spent over $10 million on TV. If I'm starting from scratch and I have no money, I would buy a list of high equity of people who have owned their house for at least 20 years. And I would start calling and texting them.
How big of a list do you think you would need for 30 days to guarantee a deal?
Probably a pretty big list.
Oh boy, dude, I would probably literally go grab a list of any delinquencies, any evictions, things like that. Pick up the phone, call those landlords. Every single one of those landlords, talk about their evictions, how we can help them through with that, and just start making offers on those. Now, of course, it's going to really depend on how many evictions or those types of delinquencies are in that market, but I would honestly grab a list, start picking up the phone, talking to people.
So I didn't include any repeated responses here because I didn't want this video to get boring, but cold calling was mentioned by over 50% of the investors. In addition, the list that they said they would use, 50% of them mentioned driving for dollars. Now, to get a deal with money, pay-per-click marketing, specifically Google Ads, was hands down the number one choice. But there's no magic formula here, so just pick one method and get to work.